Hello, my name is Jessica Zamora, and this is my quick little presentation on vulnerable populations using a lucid chart. Let me start this up. So I kind of went about this a different way because I think with vulnerability comes physiological issues and psychological issues, and then those are broken down further. But the 6 risk factors that I chose were infectious disease, chronic illness, acute illness, poverty, addiction, and mental health illness. And again, splitting those 3, correlating it to one thing, which is either physiological or psychological, and then all of them leading to vulnerability. So I'll talk a little bit of the physiological issues with infectious disease. Somebody can be vulnerable. They could feel not at ease because they may have something that they can't even really interact with others, especially if they have like an infectious disease such as TB or meningitis, and I just chose HIV and AIDS just because it's such a common one. Chronic illnesses, people can feel vulnerable because sometimes some of these chronic illnesses lead to someone being dependent on somebody else, such as congestive heart failure. Maybe they can't do as much around the house because they get really short of breath, along with COPD, or maybe even coronary artery disease, and maybe they know they're at risk for whatever acute illness from that. And I choose acute illness as one as well because I think sometimes even with something as acute as a stroke or even heart attack, people are disabled from that, which leaves them in a vulnerable position. So, and then again, another one I broke down into was psychological disease, mental health issue. Oops, I don't know why I did that. Mental health issue being one, obviously, my goodness. Leading to depression. Obviously, we can feel very vulnerable during depression, anxiety, bipolar. Those were just a few. I do not know why it's doing that. Let's just do this. But just that even being something where people can feel vulnerable. Poverty, they have to depend on society or resources. And of course, addiction. They're vulnerable to that addiction. So again, just kind of going back to my chart, I broke down vulnerability into really 2 things that we're all going to face. And within those 2 things, whether it's physiological or psychological, it can be broken down in so many things. And even with mental health issues can promote poverty, because if you're having mental health issues, maybe you can't do as well at your work and you lose your job, and then there you go, you're in a different socioeconomic state. Or even chronic illnesses can lead to acute illness. So all these really tie into each other. Even with chronic illnesses, perhaps you can backtrack your way to a mental health issue, like maybe somebody will become depressed because they feel so vulnerable from their chronic illness. They don't feel like they are not contributing anymore to society, so that leads to more mental health issues. But so that was my presentation on vulnerable population, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.